And BOE 2025, taxes payable in 26. Would you like to start, Miss Nikki?
Sure. Hi guys. Good to see you again. So we do have 2 new appraisers this year, and so just wanted to make some introductions. We've got Tim Kelly and Mariah Rogers. So Tim is working on his accreditation, and I do have slides on this, which we'll cover in a little bit, but he's going to scoot out because he's actually studying for his exam. So he's completed 101 and did an excellent job. Completed use pack. Super excited.
Super excited.
Use that is riveting.
I'm more excited after 11:31.
Right. So Tim, this is Lexi, Charles, and Joe. Joe's been on the board for what? Almost 10 years?
No, not that long. I think this is their 6th or 7th.
6 or 7? Okay. I'm rounding.
Almost.
I'm rounding up. I work for the assessor's office. We round up. Just kidding.
There you go. No. Tim, and it was Rory.
Mariah.
Mariah.
And you'll hear us call her Mo.
Yeah, Mo works. Mo is great. Mo.
And then Lexi, you've been doing this 3?
This is my 3rd year, yeah.
3rd year. And Charles
I'm
came
the
back
baby.
for another round.
That's good. So, I'm the infant.
We do appreciate it.
All right. Well,
I
you're
appreciate
welcome to
it.
stick.
Okay.
Mariah's gonna stick around, just so she's never been to a presentation. I told Timmy to watch it later, but unless you need to go.
No, I would love to. I was just trying to think about chairs. I could scoot next to
Yeah.
John and we could do this thing.
I don't bite.
And that way you could come up closer to the
He's
table.
like,
Well,
I
I'm
don't
gonna be
need
gone
it.
once you guys start. So.
Alright.
So we need to do presentation focus. Perfect. I can minimize this video.
Fantastic. Start at the beginning. You were peeking ahead. All right, guys, this will look pretty familiar. I updated last year's stuff, but I don't have a whole lot of new information to share, so we'll just run through it, and then hopefully Jen has either shared it with you in a PDF or shared a link where you could access it. But we'll run through it today. So just a reminder of who's on the team. It's me. Got 2 commercial and industrial appraisers, 2 commercial ag appraisers, and then the 3 residential appraisers, 2 of which you just met. So again, Tim has finished 101 and is working on USPAP now, working on his accreditation. Of course, that'll take a year. Mariah is licensed in Washington, California, and Alaska, so her accreditation was super easy. She's already accredited.
So are you fully staffed now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we are.
Assessors?
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
finally
it's been
filled
a
our
few-
GIS
it's been a few-
position.
We just filled our GIS position, so that was the one that we had opening for Robin retiring. Yeah. So yes. So he hasn't retired yet. We're cross training.
Oh, good.
So
Yes. So just a reminder, I am going to read through this briefly. Sorry if that's boring, but just a refresher for what the assessor's office and how that is associated with the Department of Revenue. So,
Let's go quick. Just
Of course.
a relevant question
Yeah.
to this, but you guys changed the GIS program,
we did.
and what was the
reason?
yes?
Okay, so real quick, the old map sifter hasn't been supported for over a year correctly. It was just on there. So the data that people were getting was months and months old. That software, the county didn't update. And last year we opened up our new, a map program that our IS department developed. I don't know what happened, but there was internal problems with the transferring of it from a server to have to go host, to have to come back to a server, and the system just kept glitching. Our IS department was in trying to rebuild, and every time they'd fix something, they'd break 6 things. I'm just being honest, right? So as of Thursday night or Friday, if you go to our website and go down to the GIS map, okay, That is a new one that we developed in our office.
Okay.
My staff, my employees developed that, primarily Finney. And that is now updated. We made a couple of quick corrections this morning that we found out from people that were trying to use it, saying, well, what about this? What about that? So we fixed a couple things this morning, but it's way more user friendly. And the difference is anything that's updated from the day before is updated that night and accurate the next day.
Okay.
Where the old system, even though it was seemed to be real easy to use, that data was not accurate and it was months old.
So does the new system have the same level of functionality?
More.
Like the ability to measure acreage?
Yeah, in fact,
Yeah.
better. The icon, did you call yesterday, Charles?
No.
Somebody called yesterday and said, I can't find how to measure, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm going, it's on here. I just used
Oh.
it. Where's it at? When they were doing a search and had the names down, it covered the icon that is the measuring icon. So we moved it to the side this morning. That was one of the things we just did. It is more of a GIS map than just the old map sifter one, but you can measure by acreage, you can measure by all sorts of different choices in there now. It will literally not just do a measurement, but it will attach to the corners. I mean, whatever the boundaries are, it'll find them for you. So yes, go play with it. And
If you have feedback, let us know.
please give us
I will.
feedback. Finney is the one that completely developed our office. We got tired of phone calls for a couple of months from the public. When we had nothing to do with it, it was our IS department, even though our name was on it. And so we literally created it in-house. And we think it's gonna be a lot better.
We have a lot of functionality on there too. You're gonna start to
Yes.
see over time a lot more layers available
Yeah,
that
perfect.
pertain to appraisal and
Yep.
some other.
Yeah, you can do a lot of things now.
features.
You gotta go play a little bit. And there's a print feature to where you can print the screen right there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Our assistant's gonna be really happy with
Oh,
that.
good.
'Cause
Now,
she
it is
really
not-
mad when you guys
Yeah,
changed
I
it.
know, Charles, but they didn't even know that it wasn't accurate from us.
No, I
The
know,
other
I
thing
know.
is the other locations in the county
Uh-huh.
where you would just go click that map button,
Yeah,
I can't tell you that they've been shifted away from the IS map to ours yet. We've put in a request for IS to do that.
okay.
But from
So,
our website.
But on our website down at GIS, it is correct. All right.
And it'll be a
Good to
little
hear.
more updated, like if somebody parcels something.
Every
Yeah,
night.
yeah, yeah.
Like
Every
Night.
night.
Oh,
Rather
that's
than
crazy, not
monthly.
like months, yeah.
Yes, not like
Nice.
months. Yeah.
And it does pertain to this, so I'll go ahead and cover that now. It wasn't in my slides, but it is relevant. We're gonna have a new sales search feature, which will allow them to search by sales on the map, excuse me, by neighborhood. It'll assist with people who are, looking at appealing, trying to answer their own questions about their values. And then while they're looking at their neighborhood, which they can outline on the map now and understand where their geo market area is, they can also click to get the statistics and the sales and everything else just from the map. So the map's a lot more
Okay,
interactive.
that's awesome, because for what we do, you do not understand how much we use that website.
Yeah.
We used Map Sifter anyway. We used it almost daily for what we do.
A lot of people did.
Oh, yeah.
The school district was for all their bus routes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like,
so that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Feedback
really
is
good.
really welcome and
And we'll,
encouraged.
I'm sure once Tracy jumps into it, she'll.
Okay.
Yeah, we
I'll get the
want feedback.
download and then I'll let you guys
We-
know.
we
I'll
want
never get a
feedback.
hold of you.
Yeah.
you bet.
and we want to keep improving it. Now, understand, we're not the GIS experts. They manage what the data we get. They pull out part of our system and part of from building and planning and everybody else, right? So we can only get good information if they've got it available to us. So part of it is we still have to rely on IS to have some of the layers that we need to draw from.
Gotcha.
So we're working very hard at getting it better.
Great.
Okay,
Good. That's good.
that's a good
So,
side quest.
Thanks for asking that, really.
All right, so what is our function as it pertains to the Department of Revenue and Washington State law? Pretty much all the functions of the assessor's office are a direct result from Washington State laws or regulations that are a direction of the Department of Revenue. So the legislators set the laws and then the Department of Revenue interprets the laws and gives us directions and manuals and policies. The Department of Revenue's Property Tax Division updated the revaluation manual in 2021, so that's available for your review at any time. As an oversight agency, the DOR is directed to exercise general supervision and control over the administration of Washington State's property tax laws. The process of the supervision often involves interactions with us and our staff. The ultimate goal of the DOR is to ensure statewide equity and uniformity in the administration of property tax. The laws and rules for revaluation programs are described in RCWs 8440, 41, and WAC 45807. And they frequently advise assessors on issues and complexities involving these laws and rules. Of course, new legislation every year, so you'll be hearing about some of those.
So
Probably next year.
Do you have a primary point of contact within DOR that you don't do?
We don't have one that's just assigned to our county. There's multiple. So like with personal property, when we have audits that year, we'll be assigned a person who's in charge of our audits that year. But as far as like real property, industrial property, there's just teams.
Okay.
They don't have that much staff.
And who's, I know this year, I don't think any of us received any sort of training, refresher training. I
So
don't know if that was.
Ricky Bland had to step back in and was taking over. What is the new gal's name?
Diana Birch.
Diana Birch.
Wasn't
And
there
if
something
she's
gonna be
not
offered
new,
online?
Or
Did you see anything? They were talking about it
they
at our
were, they
conference.
canceled the clerk training for lack
Right.
of interest. I don't know, they're supposed to do the board annually. Of course, you can
Right.
review the manual. It's probably
Yeah.
easier than sitting through
Yeah.
their training.
The only thing I enjoyed was they would bring up current
Example.
issues,
Yeah.
things that have risen during the year, how they were dealt with. Yeah.
is this something that was like done online or you had to go somewhere?
Well, it went to
Both.
online,
Yeah,
and so it was done as a kind of a Zoom meeting.
they had them on the calendar.
I am
I didn't
thinking
track
Ricky
whether or not-
mentioned something, they're still gonna try to do something, but I don't know how soon.
Well, I'm under the impression that the lack of the code says
You are
refresher
required.
training.
I would say, Jen could reach
I
out for
will
you.
look into that for sure.
Yep.
That is important to do before we start hearing anything. So yeah, let me work on that and I'll give you an answer.
Okay,
Thank you for bringing that up. It is helpful. Sure.
Yes.
it usually sets my mind and kind of sets the pace thinking ahead for the BOE,
Yes.
rather than just showing up.
Sure.
There you go.
I remember how to do this. All right, so the assessor's office valuation duties. Our duties include, regarding valuation, discovering and listing all taxable real and personal property located within our county for the equitable distribution of tax liabilities, to physically inspect real property at least once every 6 years, to value all taxable and personal property, taxable real and personal property every year, to prepare the assessment roll, to notify taxpayers of their annual value if there's been a change in valuation, and to defend that value. So what does the Department of Revenue actually do? They review and approve our revaluation plans. Those plans include what the 6 different geographic locations are, how we're gonna inspect them, when they're gonna inspect them. Those types of
Have
things.
those changed much?
Yes, we just got our new revaluation plan approved. And we created the 2027 roll year, so that's 2026 values for 2027 taxes. And in that roll year, got a huge assignment to do with our GIS crew to grab a bunch of parcels from some revalue areas and move them to others, which may mean creating new neighborhoods.
Kind of like
combining neighborhoods.
redistricting.
It is a lot like redistricting. We're required to have similar, not just parcel counts, but time. So of course, there's less parcel counts in the rural areas because you're covering a lot more ground. But we're supposed to have similar diversity between ag, residential, and commercial. That's impossible, just the way Franklin County
Right.
is split.
I was gonna say.
So,
Is that something you have to get a variance from the revenue?
they pretty much approve it as long as you're going to physically inspect every 6 years.
Okay.
The rest of the burden is on us, and they understand that we'll do whatever we can with the resources we have. As long as we're inspecting every 6 years, they don't mind. They monitor our annual progress in each county on completing our revaluation plan, so we do have to submit a progress report annually to them on how we did. They provide guidance and procedures for valuation changes as provided by law in specific situations. And they publish our annual report called a comparison of county assessor statistics. All sorts of interesting information in there for assessors. Probably not anybody else.
I use
But
it a lot.
yeah, we do use it a lot. And
I have
it's
a copy
interesting.
sitting on my desk.
It's kind of like your report card that all your other classmates can see, like, how are the other assessors' offices doing? How are we doing? What's the market doing? How are other counties doing with keeping up?
Budgeting, staffing,
Yeah.
everything. It's got all of it.
They do provide training and they exercise oversight on the laws and rules governing property tax. You guys can interrupt anytime if you've got more questions. Totally fine. So what does our year look like? This is the ideal situation. January through March, we are doing an analysis of all property valuation. To be more specific, we set land values first. So January, we're valuing land. February, March, we're valuing improvements. And then April through July, we're inspecting from building permits or appraiser discovered improvements. So that's a lot of time in the field. In August, we're valuing everything that we went out and inspected and picked up. And then, of course, September, we send out change of value notices, get phone calls, make some re-inspections, make any corrections that are warranted. And then October through December, we are with you guys and physically inspecting 1/6 of the county. So moving into the next reval area. So ongoing monthly obligations, there's a lot of things that different teams of people kind of coordinate on. And so monthly, we track and validate all market sale transactions. Sometimes we interview buyers, send questionnaires, inspect properties, make corrections to county records where necessary.
So I know for the last few years, getting the commercial questionnaires. That's what I mean by commercials is the income. Has that developed any further?
We haven't sent any.
I'm gonna tell you from being on the other side of the fence, that is not something landlords typically want to share with anybody. And so it would almost be futile, in my opinion. We've received them before on buildings we've had, and the landlord's specific comments are, why would I make my lease rates public?
Well, they're not made public.
Well,
They're made, they
what-
are confidential.
They don't
Well,
want to share. I will say we had over an 80% return rate the last time we
You did?
revalued
'Cause-
multifamily.
Okay, well, multifamily, from that point of view, I can understand. From an office point of view, or you may have a building that's got multi-tenants, different leases, it's not something that people wanna ruffle feathers and give out. That, I'm just telling you.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's
So
more
it's
difficult.
it's very difficult to do.
Is that an education issue? Do these people not
No.
understand?
No,
That's
they're-
totally, they're
well,
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's almost, they view it as proprietary. They don't
Well, it
want that
is.
information getting
well, I
out.
understand.
Yes.
So it's confidential,
Yeah.
which we make really clear. It is completely protected. It will be redacted from any information other than if they themselves appeal their own property valuation, then
Then it
they're
becomes-
required to
Yeah.
provide it, and then it becomes public record.
I see.
But when they return the questionnaires, yeah, we've had really good success in the past, which is why our income model has been exceptional until the last couple of years, just because it's so outdated. Resources have been tight.
On the residential rental, I mean, that there's a lot more of that, but I think on the commercial, industrial, farm side, you're gonna have a hard time getting information.
Yeah, well, I had when we bought a property like a year and a half ago, and I had asked Sharita, I was like, look, is this, I still filled the survey out and I
Is it
tried.
required?
Well, it wasn't that, no, because
That's what you don't wanna know.
I'm a certified general, I like certified sales, I get it, but like, I was very like, okay, is this discoverable, especially I'm thinking like, the people we bought it from, have maybe some family stuff going on. Like if I'm super honest, is it gonna make neighbor problems if I say why I was willing to like overpay on this portion of it, or you know, that sort of thing. So I just and I ended up filling it out. That's just really weird about my wording. So,
Where?
yeah, I think I told her some stuff.
Yeah. And that's true. Our highest return rate is on multifamily, which is great because they're the highest number of income model parcels that we have. Right around 400. I don't know why my voice has left me today. And typically, if we don't receive a questionnaire and we call them and we let them know, hey, we are drastically changing the value of your property. You know you're undervalued. We've got to catch up with market. If you want a say in what that number is going to be, now is your chance, because most of these people have at some point in their career appealed that property value. And they know if I go to the Board of Equalization, I'm going to be required to provide actual information. At that point, it's too late. I already set the market model with all of your peers' information. So if you have genuine concerns, if you're having to spend a ton of money on repairs and maintenance, if insurance costs are super high, tell us.
Yeah.
That is how we impact the entire model, and then we can kind of get them to participate better. And that's any property type, but multifamily is the biggest one. The other types of property that we value on the income approach model are things like mini warehouse, airport hangars, neighborhood shopping centers,
Mini warehouse, you're talking like
storage units. Yeah, it's pretty limited because office, retail, warehouse, those types of things, they don't respond as well, and you can't build a model with 3 or 4 returns. So, sales comparison approach is better in my experience on those anyway, because that's a real current live look at what is the market value.
Yep.
But yes, we are sending out questionnaires the end of this year, and we will be revamping that is what my 2 commercial industrial appraisers, that is their entire rebuild area. They're not having an inspection area, they're just redoing the income model. So it's a focus for sure. So to track sales and lease listings, so when owners list their property for sale, a lot of times that's when they brag about unpermitted changes, or, you know, issues that we didn't know existed. So you see a listing for as is or needs TLC, that's find out a lot, oh, we didn't realize that, you know, you may have repainted it, put a new roof on it, but it's got issues we can't see. So we inspect the property or make corrections to county records where necessary. We review building plans for new buildings and sketch into the valuation software to prepare for new construction. So we found that just keeping up with that monthly eliminates that lag of, oh great, now we're just sitting and sketching all the new buildings for a month and a half before we can get out to new construction. So we do that monthly. The reevaluation of all combines, segregations, new flats, and boundary line adjustments. Those are ongoing all year long. The reevaluation of all parcels impacted by zoning changes and annexations. We review income and farm plans to approve or deny all current use applications and property transfers for continuance. That's a really big part of what our office provides to the public. That eats up dozens of hours of weeks, dozens of hours each week. So it's just a really important thing to note that office provides that service, and that takes away resources from our appraisers daily.
It's a lot of back and forth. So it's not like they get one questionnaire, answer one thing, it's done and over with. I mean, there's a lot of that. Title companies, owners, lawyers, yeah. I get copied on all those, so it's like, once I got copied in, because I knew how much we were doing in a way, but not till I got copied in on every one of the correspondence that they're doing. And I mean, literally, I get dozens of them in a day or two when they're having to deal with it.
And we do have the assessor ag email group now, just one email and it goes to, like you said, John, we can see them. I'm copied on those and then both for ag appraisers. And then calculating taxes, compensating taxes, penalties, and fees for all current use removals. So those are fewer than property transfers with continuance, but removals are kind of huge.
Have you seen a lot of removals?
We have a lot of removals every year just because a lot of our prime development ground is in current use.
Right.
Just north of town,
Yep.
just the prime farm ground, and that's where the development is moving. There was a lag this year. New legislation came out this year to become effective September 1st for removals. It's not 7 years back anymore, it's 4 years back. So
Wow.
once attorneys and
Okay.
big farm operators heard that, oh, if we wait until September 1st to move, to sell and develop,
We fell under the new
then
laws.
we only have to pay 4 years back.
And
So
less interest,
and much
yeah,
less interest.
much
'cause
less
it's only
interest.
4 years
Instead of
back.
7 years back taxes and interest, they only have 4.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Legislature.
I understand.
Change,
How did
yeah.
that happen?
They thought they needed to give someplace where they were doing a lot of taking in other
I know,
places. How's
relief.
that?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Right.
That's ongoing from open space to another use.
So those removal fees are less now. So there was a lag, people were waiting. September 1st, we had quite a few come through and now we're back to normal. Our busiest months for current use removals and continuances is November and December.
Yeah,
Lots of attorneys working with farm owners and operators and family members that want to get these done before the end of the year.
Yep.
And then we're
Oh, yeah.
processing a dozen a day.
Okay.
Yeah.
and
it's a
that's
lot.
right during our shutdown levy period where it's a real challenge.
Yes. All right. So the basics. Revaluation. State law requires assessors to appraise property at 100% of its true fair market value in money, according to the highest and best use of the property. Of course, that's our favorite RCW because everything revolves around that. Some things that we're constantly reminding taxpayers of: the percentage or amount of increase is not consideration. If the assessment was incorrect the year before, or a correction was made to the property record, a larger adjustment would be necessary. Different property types and market areas appreciate or depreciate at different levels. So the percentage of increase or decrease is, by the Department of Revenue and Washington state law, completely irrelevant. It's relevant to the taxpayer. And so I don't want to disregard that. I want you guys to know that we don't just say, oh, it doesn't matter. It absolutely does matter. It becomes really difficult for people to plan or anticipate what their taxes are going to be if their assessed values are doing wonky things. So it's not our goal, but in a petition to appeal their value, it can't be taken into consideration. A refresher on how taxes are calculated. So the levy rate equals the taxing district's budget request divided by the assessed value of that tax district. So each tax district is limited to a 1% increase in budget each year. And then, of course, new construction is in addition to that, or any annexations that have taken place, and any voter-approved excess levies like Pasco School District bond, which just passed a couple years ago. The same amount of taxes are collected no matter what property assessments are. The property assessments determine the fair share of taxes each property owner is responsible.
That's a hard one to get through to people. For them to really understand.
Because taxes are not a team sport.
Yeah.
And they really only care about their own. So it's hard to explain. The understanding isn't there that we'll know everybody has a share. All right, so an update for this year. Following over a decade of continued market appreciation, our property values remain mostly stable in 2024. Some residential areas saw a slight decrease in value.
Yes.
Well, if you own property, it's not really a party, but
It just raises the levy rate, Joe.
yeah,
Or it can.
it does.
Yeah.
Residential markets appear to have slowed but remain stable in most areas in the first and second quarter of 2025. There are, however, some areas that have seen an obvious decrease in the median home price and are selling or listed for less than their January 1, 2025 assessments. So we are tracking those carefully and we do know that it exists. They'll be considered for the January 1, 2026 assessments for next year. New in 2025, all non-exempt parcels received a change of value notice with a full front and back flyer of important and helpful information.
I thought-
Agreement this year.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I was like,
I think that was
this is
good.
nice.
Good.
Yes,
Good.
rather than getting the little postcard.
Yeah.
I mean, did love the one.
Right. Well, don't look there. Look
Here,
here.
you know, these appeal.
Our intent
You
is
have
to
the right
do
to.
that, if I can keep the budget monies to do it, our intent is to do that going forward, but again, it totally depends upon what the commissioners approve for my budget, printing and pay and postage and all that, so we have to make it fit within our budget.
I think it's a 2 thumbs up. I think it was excellent that you did that.
Yes.
That
I think it's way more informative for people, they're way happier.
And it's way more transparent.
And I can tell you, the backside that covered like the seniors and
Yeah,
disabled,
that
I don't
was
know if you're
good.
gonna talk about. It really increased the amount of seniors, you probably got phone calls from it even, but our office got, we really increased the amount of seniors. Approximately 10% of our senior households are in the exemption program now. That's a lot for a county.
It's,
I think what this did is it made you look more transparent.
that was the goal.
It
Yeah.
really
That
did- it
was
really
the
made you
goal.
look more transparent, and by placing that kind of information on the back, kind of said, we have a heart.
Yeah.
We want you to know about this.
And it was on the cards
It was
before.
always on the back,
understand,
but
yeah.
it was so
It's,
small.
it's
We
just like an
even-
afterthought on the card.
Yeah.
Here, it's more.
And we even sent out, when the treasurer sent out the tax notices for actually the tax bill, we actually enclosed a flyer in that last year.
For the same.
But this has by far been better.
It was. I
Yep.
think the main difference is it was in color. It looked like actual correspondence that I may care about.
Yeah.
And it was large enough for the elderly to see.
Now, we
A
did have
huge
some
difference.
people complain that it wasn't the little card that they can put in their file along with the other little cards. We said, cut it out.
Yeah.
Cut that out.
So the
Literally, we
the
had
little
people
card part's
complaining
still
about
the same.
that. Cut it out, stick it in there.
Well, I think you
So-
overall, regardless of the cards, others.
Yeah.
yes,
It's,
okay.
we wanna continue it. It just, and I put it in our budget, it's just a matter of it gets approved.
It's massively different on the cost. So we did two things. We didn't just send out a full page flyer in an envelope. We sent it to every property
Every
owner, whether their value changed or not.
Okay.
So we didn't want to just communicate with some, we wanted to communicate with all,
Yeah.
and we wanted to share the information with
Yeah.
all.
All
of Franklin
persons.
County. So, alright, so what is a ratio? Property tax ratio, it expresses the relationship between the assessed value and the sales price of property. It also indicates our level of assessment of property compared to the sales prices. They are audited and determined by the Department of Revenue, and we do utilize them to equalize centrally assessed property values. So real quick, what does that mean? We have locally assessed properties, which is like your home, your land, the businesses you see. Then there's centrally assessed, meaning assessed by the Department of Revenue. For all property that crosses county lines, like telecommunications, airlines, railroads, that sort of thing, where they value the total amount in Washington State as a whole, and then they allocate portions of that value to each county where they sit. It wouldn't be fair to value them at 100% of market value if the ratio for the rest of the county is 90. Then they equalize those and say, well, then big business, you only have to pay 90% of that as well. So that's billions of dollars being adjusted down to wherever our overall ratio is, which is why our ratio is so important. Because that burden, the billions of dollars that could be paid by big industry, is now shifted to homeowners, small business owners.
So for Franklin County, what are some of those?
Well, the airport's huge, railroad's huge,
yeah.
and telecommunications.
Yeah, pipelines,
Pipelines, yeah.
yeah,
Utilities.
Yeah.
Most of it.
Yep. Last year's DOR ratio steady results. So in 2023, we were at 91.3. In 2024, we went to 91.8. So we hardly moved at all. And like the paragraph says below, overall, the assessment level didn't need much correction from the assessor's office to comply with our statutory obligation of assessing property. We are at 91. The goal is 100. Of course, you guys know the little histograms. If we're right at 100, then that means some are over and some are under. So we're sitting comfortably where we feel is ethically responsible.
And it's always, you always.
We are always a
Catch
year
up.
behind. When the market's increasing rapidly, it's really difficult for us to keep up. You may see the inverse of that if we actually start to see a declining market.
Really quick, I need to step out. Are you gonna have any petitioners in today, or is it just gonna be?
It's just
This is it.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
Thanks,
then
Julio.
I'll take it
Thank you so
later.
much, Julio.
So just a reminder, this year mostly we're looking at market sales that occurred in 2024. We crunched that through the mass appraisal process, for the assessments as of January 1, 2025 for taxes payable in 2026. Value notices went out August 29th. Last day to appeal was September 29th. And then that's just a reminder of all the dates that we're required to do stuff by.
Are you still getting some appeals?
No, I'm sending off more rejection letters with like an extension on their corrections, but that's about it. I have just about everything sent out, maybe like 3 outliers that are not on that list, but
So we processed maybe, I don't wanna give you a number, but around 20, 30 maybe corrections to value during the 30 days that are within the correction. People call and say, hey, my assessment doesn't make any sense. If we go out and do a physical inspection and we find things that we didn't know, or just review the market for that specific property as an individual and find that it needs a correction, then we can. The date that we make that correction and send that corrected notice, they have 30 days. So there still may be a couple that we kind of know already still weren't happy even after the correction. They still have the right to appeal. So
How's that compared to the range, 20 to 30 corrections?
I feel like it was low this year. Yeah, sometimes we'll get a call we'll start to see trends in who's calling, where maybe we're saying, yeah, oh, yeah, we're looking at your specific home and the correction is needed and warranted. What about your neighbor? What about the other 2-story down the road? In years past, we have had groups of property types that needed a correction. The model didn't account for it. There weren't any sales in that category, and so the model just showed that the model was great, but there weren't any sales of this specific type. And so once we started to do the analysis, we find those gaps. This year we didn't find any of those gaps, so there weren't any mass corrections. We didn't send any out to like the property owners or anything. Time adjusted sales price. I feel like we've covered this a lot over the last few years, and you do have this to review, but it's in here just as a reminder to all of us. I think the very last statement's my favorite. Second one, yeah. Although the adjustment for market conditions is often referred to as time adjustment, time is not the cause of the adjustment. The market conditions, which shift over time, create the need for the adjustment, not time itself. Right. So if the market changes over time, adjust it back to what it would have been at a different date.
What'd you call it, market adjustment?
Because a market adjustment
Yeah,
is not trending for time. Market adjustment is like when we take the cost approach and we say it didn't, the cost approach on January 1, 2025 was not sufficient. The sales actually indicate something different. So it's market calibrating the cost approach with no consideration for time. Time is I'm using a sale from 6 months ago and the market's gone up 10%. So I have to move that sale by the amount that the market changed over those 6 months to bring that sale to the January 1 date. So, yeah, market calibrations and time adjustments. So then there's just an example of what that might look like. Of course, you guys have all seen this before. So I'll just jump right into what are our time adjustments this year. So land continues to improve at a steady clip. So we've got 15% annual back on for land for residential and commercial. Ag is not moving that quickly, obviously. Land continues to go up for ag, but not at that rate. So again, commercial and residential 15%. Residential improvements for 2023 and 2024, we are using 0 overall. There were definitely some markets that increased, and we're starting to see in 2025 some areas that are decreasing, but we just elected to not. Erring on the conservative side for some of the residential markets, we elected not to add a time adjustment on there. It was a safer bet to just use the straight sales price rather than a time adjusted sales price. And then commercial, I put none, but I'm not sure that that's totally true now that I'm sitting here thinking about it. There were some commercial areas where we had an improvement, time adjustment in there, so I apologize for not updating that. In 2023, we put 0 on for commercial, and then that was just grossly inaccurate, and we should not have been that conservative, so we had to add time adjustments back on for 2024. So the difference between the median sales price and market appreciation, there's just a really great example here. Again, you guys have seen it before, you can read it later, but just because the median home price is changing doesn't mean that that equals the market appreciation or depreciation. There's examples here of just looking at a different pool of sales and having one different can vastly change the median price of the homes that sold that month or year when the market may be appreciating completely different pace. And that's in there for you. I think all three of you are fully aware of that, but sometimes in 2023 particularly, when we had a lot of appeals, this was a general misunderstanding by the public. And so this was something I felt like was reoccurring in a lot of our board packets. This was people's concern, and so we included it in here, and I didn't want to remove it because I think it's valuable. Okay, so here's where we really get to the heart of what did our assessments do this year. So 2025 revaluation information. Again, notices were mailed the 29th. Last day to appeal was September 29th. And we sent 34,121 revaluation notices. Of those, 4,175 were in our inspection area. Okay, so that these numbers are of the 34,000. So if everyone that received value notices, 6.9%.
Now, this year you said you sent out to everyone.
Except for exempt property owners.
Yeah.
They don't
Okay.
hear. And then any that have an of 500 or less don't receive tax bill anyway, so we didn't send them.
But as far as that flyer that we all received, everybody received that?
Yes, 34,121, which is
Okay.
all non-exempt parcels with a value over 500. So increases without new construction be considered. So if someone had a permit or something that added value to their property, that value was removed from this. So this is just like market changes, statistical changes from our office. So 6,355 parcels saw an increase of 1 to 15%. 396 parcels saw an increase of 16 to 30. Only 102 parcels saw an increase of 31 to 40%. And then there were 967 parcels which saw an increase greater than 40%. Many of those were in our inspection area, and many of those are new plats. So just to pause there, if we've got a couple plats that are a couple hundred parcels each, we're required by law when they first plat their property, if it's in the later part of the year, we have to balance back to the last year's value overall. So we just split the value off, so they have ridiculously low, like $11,000, lot values. And then the following year we can increase it to market. That's what a lot of this is.
Okay.
And then the 7,565 parcels saw their assessment decrease. Some of that was residential, but a lot of that was our current use values went down. So anybody in the current use program saw their assessment go down. And then 18,736 parcels who would not normally have received value notices with zero change received the flyer. This was our inspection area, so we refer to it as the dryland wheat and small towns reval cycle. So it does include a lot of rangeland, a lot of dryland wheat, but all of our small towns. So Mason City, Altopia, Clovis, Connell are all included as well. A lot of ground to cover. These are residential statistics. So 989 verified valid residential sales. Overall ratio for the year, not time adjusted, is 94.5%. If there were a trend line that you could see behind all of those dots, it is absolutely flat. which is a further indication that no time adjustment was warranted for residential sales. It didn't move up or down as a whole. And all of our statistics, which need to meet IWO requirements, are exceptional. So pretty happy about it. So focusing on residential only, residential assessed value appreciation rates without new construction. So we have South Central Pasco went down 1%, East Pasco went up 5.28%, North Central Pasco just dropped a smidge. West Pasco saw a huge increase of 20.44%, and I will say most of that was land in the Broadmoor area. So land zoned residential transition, commercial, or multifamily, it needed that statistical bump, and that accounted for most of that. Some of those parcels saw an increase of upwards of 800%. And it was just very needed. It's still low, but that's why the whole area looks like it went up 20. Most of it didn't increase at all. So rural residential west of Highway 395, just a slight increase at 3.39. The outside towns, which is in the inspection area, went up 19.46%. Again, hadn't been physically inspected or really reappraised in 6 years, so correction was needed. In the cities and towns, but then the rural east of Highway 395, which was also in the inspection area, was a more mild increase of 8.0%.
So how on the outside towns, just familiar. So I know like both, which 24 would have been on the front end of that, but I know both Clovis and Connell have like multiple houses that are listed at like there's one in Clovis that's listed for 110,000 and hasn't sold in like a year and a half. And Connell they just put in new duplexes and they can't sell or lease them.
Again, you're talking about what's happening in October.
Yeah.
This is a January 1. So Connell specifically with Lamb Weston shutting down in September. I was really, really, really happy. Not for Connell, don't get me wrong, but I'm happy that there were already sales by December that indicated, holy cow, we're freaking out, floating property, we're moving, and we're selling for less. There was a 30% increase in residential already by December 31st in Connell. And it's following everywhere else. Of course, we had to have the sales to show that the market had moved. We were looking at listings, how long they've been listed for. We tracked it all. But yeah, residentially in Connell, when I looked at January 1 to the day Lamb Weston announced, the market was pretty stable. And then from September to December, it dropped 30%. Yeah. So I was really happy that we had those sales before the end of the year and in January and February that I could use to track that. So, and even with that,
So you guys are factoring like listings into if they can't do it. Okay, good. Okay.
yes. And the slower the market becomes, the more those will be setting market, because if there aren't any sales, that's another indicator.
No,
For sure.
seems like something I've seen over the last few years is picking up more sales that are in the beyond kind of the cutoff date, some that are in January, February.
Just as we,
Just
so,
maybe more as a indicator.
no,
Well,
it's just any sales that use have to be time adjusted. So ideally, right, we would pick sales that happen in November, December, January, and February if our appraisal date is January 1, because that's as close to the assessment date as you can possibly get. The further out you go in either direction, the more time has to be considered. It doesn't matter which direction you go, it's just the sale had to have already happened by the time we were finishing our assessments. So if I looked at it now in October, I could use sales all the way to today. I just have to time adjust them back. Which ones are more relevant? Which ones had already occurred when we were setting the values in March? We only have January, February, March to use. Whereas by the time we get to a board case and people are saying, why is my value what it is? We have many more sales that have occurred since we set the value to help us know if that value was accurate and to justify the value. in rural areas where there's not very many sales, it's really helpful. Sometimes we're imputing certain things, right? We have to make some assumptions about the market, and we may not have perfect comps, but if something that's very comparable sold in June or July, we can time adjust it back to January 1. That's still a great option. Okay, so agriculturally, looking at the market value, so we did increase the market value of irrigated farmland from 15.5 to 16.5. That's still ridiculously conservative. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner, and this is just for 2024, the average price per acre is 8. So we're at 16.5. The agricultural market can be volatile. It can be influenced by many factors. Some are disclosed, some aren't disclosed, and so we typically try to have a very conservative approach to keeping up with market. And then permanent crops, we did have another 25% increase in apple values, and that's just because we were so low that we could have had a 200% increase a couple years ago, and instead we're just doing 25% per year and tracking the market.
Is that on apples, is it due to market or is it due to like
It's
repping
due to us
orchards and
being
putting in more? Okay.
terribly low
Yeah,
on
okay.
assessments.
Okay.
Yeah. Commercial assessed value appreciation rates for commercial. So Road 68, and this is not what the market did. Please hear the difference between what our assessments did and what the market's doing are two completely different things. We did not statistically adjust commercial this year. We just did not have the resources to do it. So when you see practically zero, practically zero, practically zero, the ones that did change were like new plats, segregations, corrections, things of that sort. It was not a new assessment. So most of those parcels just remained locked in the values exactly like it was from the year before. Again, Central Pasco saw a little bit of a change, and most of that was a few parcels changing a lot because it was a hot market area that just needed to be statistically updated. And then the outside towns, which was our inspection area, commercially went up 36.8. I would say a lot of that is just there's less permitting out there. So when we're out there after 6 years, we find things that have never been on the assessment record that are too late to be counted for new construction dollars. So they're not removed, but it's increasing because since the last time we were here, you added 4 buildings you never told us about. So that skews this data a
Or the
little bit.
building department or inspectors. They didn't
Right.
know that.
I know. Yeah. So there's a lot of that out in the outside towns. So just a refresher on the income approach, which we do use for commercial properties. We talked about the types, which was great. It's just a conversion of the property's income stream into an estimated value. We do follow IRV, which there's a great little visual here. One thing to note, I like to remind everybody every year, is we do use a direct capitalization process, and when we use the cap rate, there are, for assessment purposes only, just some completely different ways of looking at cap rate that taxpayers are not familiar with. So I want to make sure that you guys are, and I'm going to tell you every year. So because taxes are typically an allowable expense, it has to be factored in because it's an expense of the business. But if we allow our own taxes to impact the expenses a business has, we're impacting our own value, which can skew things. If we're off, then that number is wrong. So we are required to remove taxes as an allowable expense. And then we load the cap rate with the tax rate. So here's talk about if we're on an income producing property, an unloaded cap rate. We're required to do that because it removes us from the equation. So that if our assessment last year was incorrect, we're not impacting the new value in any way. So we remove taxes, property taxes as an allowable expense, but then we add in the appropriate tax rate on the new expected value at the end by adjusting the cap rate. And there's just an example of how the income approach works, but you guys are super smart, so you already know all of that. And this is just a summary of which information is online, so all property characteristics, sales information, statistics. There's various ways to search information. Of course, we just talked about a new one, which is the GIS portal. We do not publish parcel value calculations on our website, which is the actual numbers behind the cost approach. No counties do. It causes more questions and confusion than it does help. But that information is available if people come to our office and have specific questions. So just a reminder, by the time that a Board of Equalization hearing takes place, an appraiser has typically done these things. They've spoken to the appellant about their concerns or questions, reviewed comparable sales with the appellant, if they'll listen. So I will, disclosure there, sometimes they will not hear it, so we have at least tried. Verified the characteristics of the property with the property owner, offered or requested to make an interior inspection, requested any additional information or done research to address property-specific issues or concerns, looked for any new evidence that may impact value, and again, that's looking for sales that occurred after the date that we set the values that could be important or relevant, double-checked valuation model for accuracy, prepared the evidence packet that you guys get to see. If there were any corrections that were appropriate, then we've made those. I'm not sure. I think they probably realized someone was in here anyway, but we can.
Don't know who would be trying to use it.
And then they will always have their value and evidence reviewed by another appraiser. That's typically me. And then they've invested at least 3 or 4 hours into the process just because an appeal exists. So complete petitions are key. I will say she's not here to hear me, and I wish she was, but Jen is doing an amazing job.
Quick question, going back to the cap rates.
Oh, yeah.
If a appellant comes in and they use a cap rate that's based on a triple net lease,
Mhm.
that's net of taxes and operating expenses, that adjustment that you guys make would be irrelevant, right?
No, it still has to be loaded with the tax rate to find market value. If we're using cap rates that are loaded for one, we load that for all because our market model has to be consistent for all. So it's kind of like adjusting them to the market.
Okay. So you just tried to equalize different, so if you take a marketplace, it could have triple net leases, it could have modified net leases, and then you just tried to compare apples to apples by making that tax adjustment.
That's what we're trying
I
to do.
see.
That's the goal.
Okay.
Yes.
A little, I mean, it's a requirement for you guys, but it is a little like when the market's running on a cap rate with the taxes built in, it kind of puts you guys in a really
That's a
weird
tough deal,
spot to
yeah.
then try to build a different cap rate when that's not how the market's looking, you know, like.
Yeah, so of course all these things come from huge lawsuits, right? It moves its way up to
Sure.
the Supreme Court and then they rule a certain way. And what happens is when you're talking about millions or billions of dollars, taxes are huge. So if the assessment was wrong to begin with, then that skews the expenses, either up or down, depending on which way the assessor was incorrect. And so they just ruled that there has to be a better way to eliminate an incorrect assessment the year before from arriving at the new value.
Gotcha.
So it's just a creative way to solve that problem,
Mm-hmm.
which property owners don't understand until we spend a bit of time with them. And they don't always like it because they think, oh, it's totally an expense, so you have to consider it. Yes. We're not considering it by allowing it as an expense. We're considering it by raising the cap rate, 1 point whatever percent the tax rate is.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you show them the math, you'll see that it makes perfect sense.
Gotcha.
But yes, there are different types of leases. There are different types of cap rates.
Yeah.
So, just to refresh, we were talking about the time it takes an appraiser simply because an appeal exists and all the effort that they put into getting to an agreement if we can with the property owner. So complete petitions are key. And I was just gonna say that Jen has been doing an amazing job. She learned so fast and is very detail oriented. She's doing an amazing job making sure that our petitions are complete. Of course, we all know that even after a petition is complete, evidence is not always there. So, evidence is not bringing up a concern or a question. It is clear, cogent, and convincing. It's quantifiable market data that suggests a different value. So if no evidence is submitted by the appellant, it is appropriate for the appraiser to submit a generic statistical evidence packet. I will say this year we have a lot less petitions than we did a couple years ago. Generally, people are trying to throw at least a couple sales in there that they think are relevant. So we don't have any statistical packets this year, but just a reminder that most counties do. And we invest much more time in this process than a lot of counties do. And the appraisers take pride in that. So they do,
And I
they do a
want you
lot
to
of
know
work.
the board appreciates that.
Thank you.
Recognize your
It's the right thing to do.
When we can.
Yeah, when you
I
can.
understand.
So
You gotta be practical.
yeah. So of course your decisions should discuss the evidence provided by both parties. When writing decision, include reference to the clear, cogent, or convincing evidence provided by the appellant or lack thereof. The appellant is more likely to understand their decision, and that's key because your decision is whatever your decision is. We're not trying to say, hey, we'd like to be able to pick that apart and question it. What we would love is to have less BTA appeals. So if the appellant who receives your decision understands why that decision is being made, and it can start to make sense to them, then we will have less BTA petitions. So just to recap, I updated these numbers 2016 to 2025. There's 57 total BTA cases. 7 renew this year that are awaiting schedule. So in that whole time frame, there's been 2 stipulated, 12 withdrawn, 17 sustained, 11 dismissed. So you guys aren't allowed to dismiss a petition simply because there's no evidence. They are. So if they get to a certain date and the appellant still provides nothing, then they just dismiss it. So 11 dismissed, 1 overruled, and 14 haven't been heard. And the 1 overruled was way back in 2017. So I feel good about that.
Is 7 new a year, like average? What do most counties get?
Well, comparing us to other counties wouldn't be typical. I would say for the percentage of petitions that we received, that's probably pretty.
So the 14 that haven't been heard yet, we're looking at how many years?
Last year and the year. Yeah, they're
Are they working? Because there was a period of time when they had a large number.
they're super backlogged. Being 2
They're
years
still-
behind is
still bad, okay.
huge.
Yep.
They are reviewing a change to the law that pertains to BTA, and it will allow small percentage or value changes to follow a different, more expedited time process.
Okay.
The
Like,
problem
these
is
are-
they haven't defined small.
They haven't.
Yeah, and
And it
that's
isn't
where we're
official,
concerned.
but they're trying. So they're trying to decrease the backlog by saying, hey, if we can crank out and get rid of a lot of these small, seemingly insignificant,
Right.
So this is kind of like maybe they move to the head of the line.
or they have a
they're
different
required.
hearing examiners
Yeah.
dealing with those that are just
Okay.
constantly pushing
That they
those
could do more
through.
rapidly
Yes, that
instead
they
of
can
them
do
waiting in
rapidly.
line doing it.
Because I know we see a lot of these large commercial properties that just stay in the queue in order
Yes.
to get
Right.
there.
Their turn
Yeah.
at the real deal. Yes. So we'll
And,
see.
and there's a few, very, very few, that don't do the BTA thing. They pay their taxes under protest and then file with Supreme Court, Superior Court. Yeah, that's a different
Different process.
process, but they have that right.
So of the decisions that were made, and this is the same one that I had in here last year, we didn't have any new ones because we just, our place in line is that we didn't have very many BTA hearings and decisions this year. But there were, in 2022, assessments overruled by the BOE where the BTA said, hey, there was not clear, cogent, convincing evidence, and they went back and sustained our value. Really, that.
We are holding that against you.
There
but-
may be, of the 14
No,
awaiting, there may be more of those. We'll see. Because, yeah, we have taken quite a few to the BTA from our side of the last.
Right.
You guys were very interactive this year. I really like it. But if you have any
I
further,
think it's the nature of the room, that kind
Yeah.
of more.
more
It's a
personal,
little more personal that way.
but I'd be happy to answer any questions. Right. No huge underlying themes for petitions this year, other than there is, I think it's, there is one residential area where they clearly have a neighborhood chat. And it's one of the areas, where the current market is lower than our assessments, and they're struggling because their neighbors are trying to sell their house and they can't. And so we're just,
But this time last year they were,
right?
yeah.
And so we're in communication with them. We've given them the sales, but there's a large number of our petitions from one general residential area, which you'll get to see too.
Mhm.
Are they almost, all similar in design,
No.
age?
No. And so there are some of them who have appealed that we're offering stipulations to, and some that we're not, because they're varying styles,
Yeah.
qualities.
Are there any contentious ones we need to look at? Or be ready for, I guess?
We're on the record.
Doesn't matter.
No, not like we did a couple years ago.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think.
Okay.
No, there are some very interesting ones coming our way. There's some very large dollar amount ones coming our way. Some repeat offenders, I guess, if you will, but nothing that I'd be worried about or that you'd be aware of for some hostility in the room.
Hmm.
Because we did have a bit of that,
Yes, we have.
but not to my knowledge.
And you feel for the people. I mean, you really do. I mean, I am so proud of the staff and what they do and their caring and their hearts. I mean, they look at it as though it's a brother, a sister, a father, a grandparent. I mean, they really do. They look at it that way. And yet, we're not gonna compromise our ethics and our values. We're just not gonna do it.
Okay.
All
I
right,
think
thank you
this
very much.
concludes your presentation. Thank
All
you so
right.
much for joining
Yes.
us today. I'm
Thank
gonna
you
end
for
the
having
video.
us. Nice to meet
Thank
you.
you so much.
Yeah.
You
Yes,
get to have fun.
bye.
For the record, today is October 14th, 2025. The time is 10:35. As clerk of the Board of Equalization, my name is Jen Herrera for the record. Now, do you solemnly swear that you will perform your duties as members of Franklin County Board of Equalization in fair and impartial manner?
We, the undersigned, do solemnly swear that we will perform our duties as members of the Franklin County Board of Equalization in a fair and impartial manner.
Thank you. We'll note that for the record. Now we'll have to select a chair for this year's Board of Equalization. The chair will have to preside over meetings and help coordinate with my office regarding the hearing schedules and decisions. Would any member like to make a motion to nominate a chair for the 25 Board of Equalization?
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Joe.
Well, so how do we handle this as far as having a conversation on this?
You can have a conversation about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had talked with you, actually, last year,
Oh, okay. Sorry.
if you remember that.
I don't, but I believe you.
Because I do not, this will be my last year.
Okay.
That's my expectation. And I don't know if it would be best for me to be the chairman during the last year. Because then it would transfer over without some sort of transition. So my desire is to nominate Lexi, since she has the most experience next to me. And so that would be my nominee. I would nominate Lexi to be the chairman for 2020.
we get a motion to second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so Ms. Lexi, you are now the chairman for 2025 Board of Equalization. We will note that. Okay. So the next action item on the list, we have to address the good cause waivers request. We have 3 petitions that were filed untimely, and the board needs to determine whether you will grant or deny the waivers based on good cause. So all of these were submitted by the Columbia Riverwalk. This is for the assessment roll 25, taxes payable, assessment roll 24 for taxes payable in 25. That's one of 3.
Okay,
There's
everything's all
neighboring
different.
parcels, right? There is no additional evidence presented to any of the petitions submitted. I'll go ahead and let the board discuss on a vote for each one once you guys are done. I believe all of them were related to not receiving value notices.
Is that, and that's that good cause subsection G.
G
that
that
they
she was
reference.
using.
Okay.
It is considered untimely. And that is something to consider here.
So no additional information, just wait.
I would like to add to reference, I'm gonna do the presentation focus one more time.
But it's really late because they did not receive a change in value.
Right.
But was there a change in value?
There was no change.
No change in value, so it's incumbent upon them then to do work for them.
They are petitioning this year as well.
So each one of these is different, one of these are all the same.
They are all from the same,
So we all have identical copies?
no,
Oh,
3 different parcels, same owner, neighboring lots.
okay. So we'll just trade with you and compare. Saying basically it would be the same way. This is no special information.
Did they petition in 2023? Did they petition you before? You know?
That is a great question. Columbia Riverwalk.
You know, that's a new name to me,
I
I
didn't
don't-
recognize
I
it
don't
either.
I want
recognize
to
it.
say,
unless it was a.
I'm gonna look this up right now.
Commercial.
It's part.
Yeah.
Bay Street.
The one that's done there on the river.
It's incest.
That's the new apartment
It's a new
complex, yeah, the
I don't
basic
think-
20th and
Yeah, yeah.
By the
that's
way.
what
Right.
it is.
Yeah.
You were
So
asking for
they-
23.
Yeah, I'm
It
just
probably
curious
wasn't
if the year it
constructed in 23.
changed, if they petitioned it then, you know.
Could you read me off one of the parcels you have on this copy?
Yeah, for sure, 1194, or sorry, 1197.
Oh, you said 1197?
Yeah. 40035.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that,
It didn't exist at that time.
They didn't, I don't think they did.
As an apartment.
Oh, yeah.
Those are recent. That's looking at apartments. Nice one. Well, it's nice to be on the ground.
Little.
It's a little, yeah.
I am not the tax agent on base, obviously,
Yeah.
but there's a different form and a affidavit that needed to get filled out in case it didn't receive their clearing. That was not submitted either, and it's actually different law. So it's up to you to decide to take on a good cause waiver.
So this is both super late and a keyway.
Could you pull up G, the subsection G?
Oh yeah,
For-
of the
for-
RCW, absolutely.
Yeah, just to make sure we can say we've read it.
Can you read off the RCW?
There's the conformity requirements, it's WAC,
Oh, sorry, yeah,
yeah,
whack.
WAC 458 dash 14 dash 056.
Next. And they use G.
Yeah. They were supposed to give us the paragraph, subsection number and the applicable letter. Okay, there it is. The taxpayer was not sent a change evaluation under or the current assessment year can demonstrate the property value did not change from the previous assessment year. Well, I guess the question would be, was the county required to send that?
Not if the value did not change, which I
Yeah.
can look up. Let's go to the,
That WAC does read though, like the petitioner is required to demonstrate the value change, right? At least me.
yes. Okay, what was that parcel number again? You said it was
974 005 0035. Yeah.
Let's go look at it. Okay, so 23. Here to there. They're claiming from here to here. That's taxable year 25.
This is assessment roll for 20. So
Table 25. So they said from 25 to 24 to 25 that it didn't change, but that's not the case.
well, but that's the taxes, not taxable value,
Okay.
right? So if you go back to the assessor and then down at the bottom,
Valuation. There we go. Here it is. Okay.
Didn't change. It changed from 23 to 24. But it didn't change 24 to 25. So they would not have received a change of value notice. And so, oh wait, no, they would have received it, they should have received a change of value notice in 24.
From here
Yeah,
to
from
here.
there.
Yeah.
They're saying they didn't.
Right. They would have because their land changed. Their improvements changed.
Went down a little bit. But the overall total
Stayed the same.
stayed the same. That's interesting.
That would have still triggered a value notice. Do you want to look up the other two?
No, so going back to G. Taxpayer is not sent a change in under.
Oh, sorry.
What I'm getting at is I'm thinking, does RCW 844045 is that a requirement? Is that, just go ahead and do a
Got it.
right click and open it up in the new. Oh, that's fine. assessor must give notice. No such notice may be mailed during current full hearing. Notice need to be sent respective changes. Of any change, so if there's no change, of any change, and there was a change, then they were supposed to send out. Right, so,
Well, I think we have no reason to doubt the assessor's involved because there was changes in improvement and in values, so. Well, not the evaluation in total, but from the improvement from the land and the building.
I think we might be looking at the wrong years on that assessment deal too. Because, so if we look at, these are for
24 to
the
24.
24 assessment for taxes payable in 25.
So then there was
So then don't we wanna be looking
at 24 to
at
25.
24 to 25, and that's the
I
one
guess
that
so.
didn't change between.
So
Yeah,
no,
those two.
so it doesn't sound like the assessor was on the hook to send it.
So but I think just a real quick, just basic questions. All three of these parcels, we should probably know that they're contiguous and part of the same deal, right? So is there a way to pull up a map just to double check that? I think we should. So in other words, one of these parcels is in somewhere else that's not affected by
Oh,
this.
yeah.
I'm assuming they're all part of the same
Well,
thing.
we're all owned by the same company.
Sure,
But you're
but
right.
I think we should just check and see.
But yeah, if we're gonna hear them together.
I think so, yeah, because you're making the decision together,
Yeah,
but we don't know for sure that they're all together. You
Uh,
could do it on the assessor's site if you go to the map sifter that you were at.
yeah.
It
Well,
won't
the
let you-
map
it doesn't
center isn't
click to
there
map
anymore.
center.
Oh, it doesn't?
No,
Okay.
it's gone completely. Yeah.
So now we get to test the new one that they were talking about.
You wanna go to the new one? I haven't used it myself yet.
Sure, let's go with the new one and see if, make sure it works since we got it.
The link was on the Franklin
It was.
assessor site. Getting a lot of tabs open.
Yeah, I tend to do that.
I guess I'm
GIS, let's have a look at that.
leaning.
There we go.
But towards, I guess,
And it's 3 individual decisions. I don't want you guys to think that it's one decision for the 3 of them.
No,
Right.
but they were all basing it on the same, or lack of it.
Yeah, so they must all be tied to the apartment complex income property is what I'm trying to get at.
I see what
Just wanna make sure. And you might do it by parcel number. There we go, okay.
There you go.
No,
There's
but
that.
Five.
There's 3-5, 3-6, and 3-1.
So that's this one here, and then this one over here.
Perfect, alright. And
Right
then
next
is there a
door.
way to go to an aerial photograph? Cause I just wanna see what
Let me get
is
the
on those.
presentation focus on. Yeah, let's do that. And that can see. Okay. So what did you need?
An aerial photograph?
If we can switch to doing maybe it's layers.
yeah.
I haven't played around with this yet.
Okay, snap gallery right there.
So
So you'll see,
there you go. Which one do you want to use? This one or which one?
These, That's
okay,
good.
so
That's
there we
good.
go, so there,
So now we can see the structures.
so that's interesting, that parcel
38 is a big.
3-1,
3-1 is right here. This one.
okay, and then 3-5 is the pool area?
035.
That's
No,
not
It's
only-
like
So,
those
okay.
riverfront.
So, and then, okay, so then, see where the pool area, that's the clubhouse pool?
This is 036.
So see, that's what's in, that's where it gets really interesting, you do have to almost combine them, because you wouldn't, I don't know how you'd value that on its own.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is what, you see what I'm saying? You almost have to say, well, that pool and clubhouse is to the benefit of the other 2 tax parcels. So it's all one economic unit, even though it's 3 different tax parcels. And that's their argument, is that the income doesn't support the valuation. So that's good to know, that in terms of if we do take it on, then you kind of know what you're dealing with.
Jack, did you,
Does that make sense, Joe?
Were
I
you
think
able
so.
to, how does
Because
it work
they-
with these, like, did you tell them they didn't fill out the right form?
But
Or
they're,
how
but
was
they're
that?
using,
Okay.
they're using,
Okay,
they're
yeah, okay, I
using
didn't know.
the same
Okay.
stamp.
Yeah, that's what they decided to turn in, and it's up to you guys to take it on.
Yeah, okay,
To me,
okay.
they should have specified that one,
Yeah, see,
specific to the pool.
well, here's my point. If the assessor has to go out and argue each one of these parcels, then they have to go out and get comp properties for pool houses and clubhouses that are associated with apartments, which is darn near impossible
Yeah.
to do. So if we were in a discussion with them, we'd have to really understand what they're trying to get at here, because it'd be very difficult to prove evidence
But
otherwise.
one thing we gotta be careful about is, and I'm really kind of a little anxious here, we're going into GIS. We're looking at information that was not included
Yeah,
with this,
yeah.
and we, as a
Oh,
board, need to be careful that we only look at the evidence that's presented to us.
Sure.
And really, like, for this one, for me, they didn't really provide us much evidence,
No,
they
they
didn't even demonstrate, like, we went to go verify that the values are the same. But then it
Sure.
also sounds like this is not the full form they need for,
And that's not, we're not really voting on that, right? We're
Yes.
voting on whether we listen to it.
Yeah, because of its timeliness and whether or not, to me, it sounds like, gee, we didn't get a notice, therefore we didn't respond, but there's no requirement for the assessor to give them a notice, because no value changed. So I would tend, my thought is that we don't, we don't agree to the waiver.
that's where I'm leaning to, just with.
So do we have to formally vote on that then?
Yes, I'm gonna read off the 3 different parcels. You guys to make a vote. Okay. So regarding owner Columbia Riverwalk with parcel 119740031, the board's decision is to decline hearing.
Yes.
For the
Yeah,
record,
if you want us to vote, we can vote. So for the first petition, what's the,
For the first petition, 119740031, the board will choose to make a vote. With the
I
reasons.
vote no.
I vote no.
Okay, the board has unanimously voted to not hear this petition. Or this waiver.
Second good cause waiver we'll be hearing today is the 119740035, also for Columbia Riverwalk, using good cause waiver. The board would take a vote.
I vote no.
I vote no.
I don't know.
So the board's unanimous vote was not to accept the waiver.
The third and final good cause waiver for this session is 119740036 from Columbia Riverwalk. Board, can you take a vote?
I vote no.
I vote no.
Board unanimously declined.
And with that, this concludes the scheduled items for this meeting. At this time, we can open up to any questions or discussions.
I don't have anything else. No.
Nope.
Do we need a motion?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
So
This meeting's adjourned.